Hi, this is PR Sundar. Welcome to this special episode, Open Letter to Honorable Finance Minister. In fact, when she was appointed as a finance minister in the very first year, she has taken some steps. Those days, I did not have a YouTube channel. I was writing blog. So I have actually written a blog saying Open Letter to Finance Minister. So Finance Minister office is also following me in Twitter. So I'll be tagging them also. So let us hope they see this message and hopefully whichever they find it positive, they will take it from here. The first one is the securities transaction tax. Even recently I saw a tweet, Zerodha founder Mr. Nitin Kamath saying that every year I wake up to the budget expecting STT to be abolished. Let us look at the background of the STT. I think in 2004, the then finance minister P. Chidambaram, there was a demand to abolish the long-term capital gain tax. So he abolished the long-term capital gain tax. So that time he said, okay, number one, by abolishing the long-term capital gain tax, the government gets less revenue because the government stands to lose the revenue of that particular area. And number two, there are many people who make profit in stock market, but they don't pay the tax. So collecting the tax at the source is always an efficient way. So he then introduced this securities transaction tax in lieu of long-term capital gain tax. Now, what has happened after so many years when the BJP rule came, when Nirmala Sitharam became finance minister, so they brought back the long-term capital gain tax. So STT was introduced in lieu of long-term capital gain tax. So logically speaking, when the long-term capital gain tax is reintroduced, STT should go away. Even I was not agreeable with the then finance minister P. Chidambaram. Okay, that is because the long-term capital gain tax, you pay the tax only if you make the profit. It is a long-term capital gain. If you don't have the gain, you don't pay the tax. Only you have a gain, you pay the tax. But what about security transaction tax? Whether you gain or lose, you still pay. And it is a fact that more than 95% of the people make losses in stock market. But despite that, they are faithfully contributing to the tax kitty of the government. But now what has happened in the BJP rule, the long-term capital gain tax has been reintroduced, but the STT has not been removed. So it becomes a double taxation. And worst thing, what P. Chidambaram did, he introduced STT at some point of time. Okay, that's fine. In fact, not agreeable. Okay. In no other business in India where a person pay the tax when he is losing the money. And stock market is the only place where a person losing the money is also paying the tax. So, though he pay the tax, it was deductible at the final taxation. Let me give an example. I've been trading. Every time I trade, I pay security transaction tax. Let us say for one whole year, I pay 10 rupees as the security transaction tax. Then at the end of the financial year, I calculate my total profit. My total profit is 100 rupees. So if my total profit is 100 rupees, I have to pay 30 rupees tax. But because security transaction tax 10 rupees has already been paid, so I can deduct that. So I have to pay only 20 rupees as the tax to the government. But at some point of time, the then finance minister P. Chidambaram has removed this. That is totally unfair. But now what is happening? You are paying STT and you are not allowed to do the deduction on tax, and then you are also paying the long-term capital gain tax. One may argue people may make profit and they may not pay the long-term capital gain tax, but that is not possible now because this one was introduced in 2004. That time the technology was not good, but now the technology is so superior, right? If you ask me for how much shares I bought, for how much mutual funds I bought, I do not know, but my income tax no. In fact, to know how many shares, what mutual funds I have, I just log into my income tax portal only. So they track everything and everything comes in. Even the finance minister has announced last time, from next year onwards, we don't have the trouble of asking the broker to give the profit and loss statement and then to declare to the income tax. Now the income tax will get the profit loss statement directly from the exchange and it will be directly reflected in your income tax portal. So when the technology is so superior, I don't think that anybody is going to cheat. If STT is being removed in the budget, or I'm not even expecting them to remove or reduce, at least, if it is tax deductible, if the government consider it as a tax paid. So in one of my YouTube videos, I said, okay, at least please change the name from security transaction tax to security transaction punishment. You are transacting in securities and this is a punishment for you. So once you say tax, it should be deductible in tax. Once you say punishment, what to do? We live in this country, so we take the punishment. So at least they allow the deduction in the overall tax that we are going to pay. But then, like always the bureaucrats guide the politicians and they want to get into the good books of the politicians. They say anything they talk in terms of how much revenue gain and how much revenue loss. But the government is not going to lose revenue, I can tell you. Why? Because 99% of the people lose money in stock market. So anyway, they are not paying the tax. Then anyway, they cannot deduct the STT. Many of my followers have some doubt when I'm talking about STT. So they say, sir, you can show this as an expense. And see, showing as an expense and showing as a tax, they are two different things. Let me give you one example. You are supposed to pay me 100 rupees for my services and you are paying me 100 rupees. But when you are paying 100 rupees, you are supposed to deduct 10 rupees TDS. You have to pay to the government on behalf of me. So actually, I have given you a service and you paid me 100 rupees. So my income is 100 rupees. My income is 100 rupees. My tax liability will be 30% of 100 rupees is 30 rupees. Because you have already paid 10 rupees, I can pay only 20 rupees. That is the right way of doing it. But what some people argue, that tax deducted at source, it can be shown as expense. If that can be shown as expense, then my income is 100 rupees, 10 rupees is expense, then my income is 90 rupees. For 90 rupees, if I have to pay 30%, I will end up paying 27 rupees. So where is 20%, where is 27%? So in a business, due to your business, you buy something, you spend so many things, that is expense. What you are paying to the income tax department can never be an expense. It is a tax. When you are saying that expense means you give something, you take something. Second thing, Honorable Finance Minister, I would like to bring this issue to your notice and see the FIIs have been selling our market like anything. Since April 1, they have sold nearly 1.75 lakh crore and October, November, December alone they have sold for more than 1 lakh crore and in the month of January, as of today, they have already sold about 20,000 crore. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. There are a lot of rumors floating around that income tax department send notices. And when somebody does something wrong, it has to be rectified immediately. Like you wait for 5 years, 6 years, then you send income tax notices. So that's bound to create some effect in the market. And madam, what has happened in 1997 Southeast Asian financial crisis. So these FIIs can do anything. So like FIIs are like our wife. So sometimes you hate, sometimes you love, but you can't live without wife. So FIIs are very, very important component of our economy. So without their capital, our capital market cannot function smoothly. Entrepreneurs cannot raise the capital, and entrepreneurs cannot create the job employment opportunities, so many things. So madam, I would like you to assure that proactively you will be engaging the FIIs and to sort out the differences if anything. So instead of bringing the huge volatility in the market because of this FII selling. And of course, there is no denial. FIIs, when they want to invest, they come and invest. When they want to exit, we have to give them the exit. But if they are exiting in the normal course of the operation, it's good. But here and there, some taxation, since 2008 or even the last 20 years, Indian markets have seen the corrections only along with the global markets. There were few times individually our markets came under severe selling pressure correction and everything was related to FII taxation. So please have some clarity about this taxation for FIIs. And madam, retail people are the people who saved our country. I remember still 2008, if FIIs sell for $1 billion, Sensex will fall 1,000 points. You are taking the same calculation, FIIs have sold more than $21 billion in the last 10 months and Sensex would have fallen 21,000. But what is happening? The huge amount of money pumped in by the retail people. Look at the SIP, highest ever SIP figure of more than 11,000 crore per month. Look at the IPO. The money collected through IPO is highest in the last 20 years. Look at the number of demat accounts being opened. More than 15 lakh demat accounts per month. And it is the retail people who saved the stock market, who saved our economy. So madam, therefore, they have reasonable expectation from you to do something for them. So one thing you can do, the least you can abolish STT or at least you can accept it as a tax paid so that it is tax deductible. For your information, the STT was introduced a long back, so it was 0.17%, and then markets were not happy, so based on certain recommendations it was reduced to 0.1. So that is a progressive action. But what has happened after some time, you have increased the STT from 0.1% to 0.5% to option traders. 90% of the volume in Indian stock market happens through options. Trading in futures, you have no futures. Trading in options, you have plenty of options. And people trading in futures, they have a huge risk. We educate the people to trade through options where the risk is comparatively less. And because they choose to take lower risk and they are being punished with higher STT. It was 5 times more than the earlier STT. So please madam, you may consider reducing the STT for option selling at par with other markets like futures market. So futures and options together is one market, F&O, people loosely say. So why option traders will have to pay 5 times more STT? That is unreasonable, madam. Another very important thing, right? So I went to a hotel, so they asked me to deposit 10,000. So I said, in all other hotels, when I go and eat, so after I eat, so whatever is the bill I pay, but why should I pay 10,000? They said, sir, if you break the glass, if you break the plate, so this is the peak margin penalty, sir. There is no country in the world asks for peak margin penalty. Business, is a private affair between two people, and when I'm taking a position, so if I'm paying money today or tomorrow, as long as broker assures the exchange, that should not be a problem. But I do understand the rationale behind all these things to cut down the excessive speculation and other things. But sometimes what is done with the good intention by the government, so it creates a lot of problem. Once upon a time in Delhi, there was a lot of snakes. It was a big problem. The government announced, whoever is killing the snake and bringing it to us, and we will pay you some money. And what has happened, after a few months, when some government officials raided some houses, in many houses, people were growing the snake. So people grow snakes, multiple snakes, so that they can bring and give it to the government. And another country, I think it was Vietnam, so there were a lot of rat problem. So the government announced, you kill a rat and bring it to us, we will pay you some money. But the thing is, what the government is going to do with the dead rat? So they said, no need to bring the dead rat. All you have to do, you kill the rat and cut the tail, you just bring us the tail, we will pay you some money. And what has happened later, when some government officials were walking on the road, they could see the rats without tail. So these two are the examples to show how sometimes government does something with a good intention, but it is not being transpired with the right effect. So the same way, this peak margin penalty and all these things, although they have been brought with a good intention, but lot of brokers, even without there being a peak margin, and they simply deduct money from the clients, and there are a lot of complaints. And you know, madam, not many brokers in India, they are honest people. So therefore, please have some mercy on retail people and make this trading as easy as possible. So therefore, madam, I suggest you abolish the STT, and if you cannot abolish the STT, at least consider it as a tax paid so that it can be deducted from the final tax we are paying. And please engage the FIIs proactively, and you can't leave them, and without them, so we cannot prosper. And the third thing that, please madam, revisit this peak margin penalty. And last one, but not the least one, madam, and everybody like gift. The only gift people do not like is the gift city in Ahmedabad. So the gift city was floated with an intention of getting the business from Singapore, and but still the volume traded in Singapore is higher than the volume traded in India, and that happens only for Indian indices. In all other indices, the home country has the largest volume. So what is the reason? So one of the reasons is the huge transaction cost. So instead of giving concession only to the NRIs and only to the FIIs, madam, we are your children and not the NRIs and foreigners. So therefore, if you are not treating us better than them, but at least please treat us equal to them. So instead of opening a gift city, giving concession to the NRIs and foreigners, anyway, madam, it's an open secret. No matter what you do, they will not come here. And the reason is very simple. And there, they don't ask for the sources of funding. And here we ask. So many countries, the taxation is reasonable. Therefore, people are incentivized to pay the tax. Say, for example, in Singapore, you have a business and the taxation is so little. So you pay the taxation, then the profit is in the books. So you can take a loan to expand the business. So whatever the tax you are paying, that can be compensated by the expanded business. But in India, taxation is very, very high. And that is why there is a concept of black money. And many people, even if you make transaction cost 0 at gift city, people may not come. But we, Indian tax residents, we have been contributing to the government so much, and therefore, madam, please treat Indian tax resident as equal to NRIs and foreigners, and forget about the gift city. Whatever incentives you have extended to the gift city, please extend all those incentives for us also. So I do not know, madam, whether this will reach you or not, but definitely one or the other day it will reach you. So to my followers, let us hope this reaches Honorable Finance Minister. So hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thank you for watching.